Head over to the kickoff.
Yeah. Well, head to Laurence Mckenna. He's got.
Right. Yeah. We'll do that as well. Yeah. Do that as well.
Head over to Laurence Mckenna because this guy has got channels coming out of his arse these days.
And that's why I bend over and just part my butt.
Yeah, if you could, just at the end. Anyway, all right, let's go in
For
3, 2, 1. Right, hello everyone. We are obviously about to do Dream Teams with Laurence Mckenna, and Laurence Mckenna has a channel called Laurence Mckenna, which he's been keeping a secret. Very, very clever, very Laurence that. So go check that out, where he basically talks about football. Can you believe it?
Very good.
And we started talking about football, and we had different opinions on the Man City Liverpool thing. And I did want to get 10 minutes just chatting about where you're at with Liverpool, and there's quadruple chat, and there's Salah chat, and there's Man City chat, and there's all this stuff. Let's start with Man City then, because the reason I just clicked record there was because
It was quite rude, but yeah.
Yeah, because you were telling me all these secrets about... No, because you said you think Liverpool were the better team in the second half. I've had a moment with that game where I've gone, and I said this in a video yesterday, I was like, oh, Man City are better. Like, I feel like I now sit in a place comfortably and say that I actually think... I think Man City are better, but when people throw, but they're not taking their chances, I totally get it, and I think that's completely valid. But I just think Man City are so dominant that I'm like, oh, okay, I think I know. You know, like in a boxing fight where, okay, if they're fighting everyone else and then they take on each other and they go, oh, okay, all right, I get it now. I felt like that was that for me in that game, but you don't feel that way.
No. You know what? I totally get that feeling, and I totally understand it, and I think it's just that I don't really accept that Man City are the better team, because the way it comes down to, and it's almost like making that argument of, well, on paper they're sort of very equal, but then in the practicality of it is that I think Jurgen Klopp played quite a risky tactic, which sort of betrayed Liverpool's sort of ultimate strength as a team, and they played much more of a tactical game, Liverpool. So in what they were trying to do, that was quite different to what Liverpool normally tried to do. Not like a million miles away, but they played City in a different way to the way they play other games.
Because that's the thing I think is amazing about these games. I'm excited about the FA Cup game, because the way these two teams will have to play against each other will be so different to any other game that they play. Because that's actually one thing I am intrigued about, where I might be wrong, is the fact that in that moment, in that game, with that tactic that they played, with Sterling and Foden trying to get in behind Trent, it did work, but they have done it now. And sometimes kind of like knowledge could be power a bit. I'm intrigued to see like the next installment of this, because again, like, if you look at a boxing match, it's like once Tyson Fury knew Deontay Wilder had nothing, it was like it was so easy for him. And I wonder that's where I could get tripped up in terms of looking at this and thinking, oh, okay, Man City are better. Is that now a little bit further down the line? You know, it's that butterfly effect maybe.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but I mean, that's also kind of the impact of that game was that Liverpool had this really shaky first half where none of the players seemed to execute in the way that they wanted to. Like if you watch Fabinho, even if you watch Henderson at times, like there's an element of like shaky legs almost, especially with Fabinho. I've never seen so many Liverpool players misplace passes.
Was that because Man City were pretty electric though?
I honestly don't think so, because I've seen Liverpool in nervous situations before where I sort of thought, I think Liverpool, I sort of thought, okay, you're nervous here. But I do think City were good, but it's this problem of like, and like I said to you, there's like it's like there's a gauge in public perception. It's actually not so much a gauge. Like these two things run parallel to me. And I think there are two gauges of Man City and Liverpool, whereas people think there's just one, which either dips towards City or dips towards Liverpool.
So interesting, yeah.
So it doesn't work for me in that way, because of the tactic that Liverpool chose to play. And there is also, I've had this conversation on my channel about how does the Liverpool offside thing work mentally? Because for the players, they go, well, we know what we're doing here. We've been told play a high line, and that's our job to play a high line. So we're playing a high line, and we're going to stick to that. Like the manager hasn't told us to change, so we keep doing that, and we trust in the tactics of the manager, because, you know, historically they've gotten Liverpool into a good position. But in the opposition's head, they're going, we're getting closer because we just got a shot on goal, but we were offside. So, or do they go, well, actually, they caught us that time. Like, how does you get this game of like, it's almost like playing poker where it's like, you can second guess yourself and go, so he had a king, but then he had a queen, and he had a king and queen, and then he played that hand. And you're looking at the opposition thinking, what are they thinking?
Yeah, well, because that's quite alien.
I wonder whether it's demoralising or not.
Yeah, because that's quite alien to what you would think about a team doing well or doing badly. You would think a dominant team would not even give the opportunity for someone to kind of get. They did get in behind you, though. Yeah, but they were offside. Yeah, but they did. But we nearly got in. But you were offside. So it's like, I mean, I guess it's just something that's quite different. I thought that's the thing I really loved about the game was that you're right with those two gauges, because I was thinking it was one gauge, right? And I'm thinking Liverpool will break, but Liverpool don't break. And
exactly.
so it is two gauges, because they'll go this way or that way, but no one's breaking, no one's completely falling off. I think that's a really good way of talking about it.
And also, you within that, I think you get almost used to how your team play, and you start to look for what you know is a good indicator from your side. And so your frustration as a fan, and I imagine it's the same for City when people go, just boring the way they're always passing it around the back. City fans probably watch that and go, yeah, but we're used to what they're doing here, and we know that there's something coming. So we're going to lean into that in a way, and we understand that. Whereas if I don't watch every City, I watch a lot of City games, but I can't say I'm so dedicated to watch every City game. Yeah. But I watch a lot of Man City. I just don't maybe look into the analysis as much as I would with Liverpool. Obviously, I look at a little bit, not as much. So my analysis will be a lot more top line than someone who watches every second of every game, every week, and analyzes it and internalizes it in a different way, and also has an element of investment in it. So it frustrates me when people go, Liverpool aren't in the game here. Liverpool, they're not on the races. Or when they say something about Mane or Salah and they go, Salah's had a quiet game. And I go, yeah, but that's because we're playing it down the other wing. Like, and we're meant to be doing that. Like, they go, Salah's not done much. And you're like, yeah, but that's because they're always doing the crossfield ball from Trent to Mane. And then later on in the game, they'll switch the emphasis to Salah. And that's what I find sort of strange with Liverpool is people just don't seem able to understand. Klopp's playing like something that is not all that complex, but it's quite complex to understand if you don't know what his goal is.
Yeah. Because I think there has to be acceptance of style. So for Man City, absolutely, the acceptance in a game against Man City, there has to be an acceptance that they probably will have the ball more than you. I mean, the tempo of that game was so ridiculous that they didn't have it probably as much as they normally do. But certainly what people will do when they analyse it, they go, well, Liverpool always have the ball. We haven't got the ball in this game. That means it's not going well. Because it's not. You're playing Man City. That's why the level of this game is so outrageous. Also, the offside thing, coming back to that for a second.
Yeah.
That's such a great example. So a couple of things. First of all, that's such a great example of commitment to what Klopp says. Second of all, that offside, you don't play offside if you don't have Alisson. I don't think you play it as well, because again, it's one of those where you can nearly get in, and sometimes you will get in, and that happened for the Jesus goal. Kind of because, in my opinion, because if you watch Trent's not body language, he's facing the wrong way basically. So if he had have totally committed to it, I think Jesus might have actually been offside. But when they do get those moments, that they're not, on the face of it, they feel like really scary moments because it's one-on-one, but it's still outside the box. It's still from 30 yards out. So it's just, again, Klopp's way of looking at the game is a lot more fearless, I guess, than others.
And it's also, it's a weird one, because very often I hate when people go, yeah, but they didn't score. Or, because you go, well, look at the performance of the team. Like, look, the performance was there from City, and, they deserve, a lot of people therefore say they deserve to score because they created so many chances. Like, I saw a tweet from someone the other day who went, could have been 10. And I was like, well, if we treat every game like that, then this game could have been 15, 20. Like, there are so many games where it could be that way. The reason that goals are so celebrated is because they are so difficult to get. And there are going to be times where Liverpool are going to accept that a City player is going to cut inside on his right foot on the left side, and Alisson's probably got it covered. There's probably a way of, Van Dijk or Matip getting over to him and making that angle as difficult as possible. They're going to have trained that. But as the watching guys, I think very often we sort of go, this is just like five-a-side, bro. We've not got any tactics. They're just running around. These guys are just running around out there, and they don't know what's going on. And I think it's easy to get sucked into these traps of thinking you know better than like Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I think Man City did some brilliant stuff there in terms of
they really did. Like, they deserve so much credit for it, because I do think they play. Like, the thing that I realized about Pep was, I was like, he's done exactly the right things. It's not only the offside thing; it's that he tried to overload players running into all those areas. So if one's offside, the other one's good. Yeah. So I think that was the smartest thing I've seen from Man City on that day, attacking wise, was like, there's 3 players that could be offside, and if one of them is, the Liverpool players go, he's offside, but then there's 2 more. So I thought the other thing with it was that De Bruyne was putting De Bruyne where he put him, essentially. And if you watch the goal, I think it's the goal that that Sterling scores but doesn't get given. What he does, and that's another thing when you talk about, it is offside. So yeah, that's fair enough. But Van Dijk is kind of taken out of the game, because often with the offside, because you have your fullbacks higher up, the offside is created by just your 2 centre backs. That's it. Correct.
And that feels scary, but actually it's just like, you've only got to have 2 people in line then. So you're also, again, numbers game. It makes sense, but. Exactly. What De Bruyne did brilliantly was he went and stood on. If you watch that bit back, he stood on Virgil van Dijk, and Virgil van Dijk was like, "Oh, okay, I'm marking him," and then he dropped off into this space and got the ball, and all of a sudden Virgil van Dijk's just there, just going, "Oh, I'm kind of out of position here." So it's so intricate, and I'm so excited about like the FA Cup game and and I think a Champions League final would just be. I
can't say anything about that. I mean, Liverpool have got to make it through against Benfica, and City have obviously got to make it through a tricky Atletico game. You know, you've got to respect the opposition. But I think the interesting aspect is, like you said, if they play again, I don't know if either team will be able to do what they did. And it was also, what I found so interesting was, the start of the second half, I was like, okay, 5 minutes, just, get back into this. You could literally see, I think as a Liverpool fan, maybe you might feel different. I could see the players had just switched on in this, like it looked like I was watching the start of the game from 45 minutes, because even their passing looked crisper, like their body language looked different to me. And it's when they scored that second goal for Liverpool, which you just go, they kind of went, oh, it's that easy. Oh, right. Okay. And I think City and Liverpool both had a similar thing, where when they were both just getting chances and chances and chances, both went, oh, it's that easy. We can just cut through you like this because you're nervous and we're nervous. And both teams were just trading. And I think that both managers sort of deserve credit for that. I did feel a bit, still don't know how to feel about the post-match where Pep is joking around with Van Dijk, and like him and Klopp are having this whole thing. And, then there's this lovely shot of him and Trent laughing and stuff like that. Like, I still don't quite know how to feel about that, because I want to know what was said. Do you know what I mean? I want to know, because it's weird. Because in the NBA, if players do that, I'm like, oh, love the NBA. Love the way that they all just joke around. And they're all, good to see you. We're all in the NBA, aren't we? We're all taking it.
Just like, NBA, aren't we? That's just what
literally. It's just, they literally walk over and go, it's just the NBA. Like, and the same in NFL to some extent, but I think NBA is a bit like that. I felt a bit weird about it. I felt like a bit like, we're not mates. Like, I hate you, what it is? But I don't.
Yeah. But it's the same. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, this is how we've seen football for so long. You shouldn't have this offside trap. You shouldn't just totally commit to it. We have to like, and with a rivalry that like Carragher's got, that Sky Sports producers have gone, Can you just drop something in about this being a huge rivalry, and then we can fucking ham that up for the rest of the week.
Can you say it's the greatest rivalry ever, like that ever existed, despite the fact that you have memory of these other rivalries and you lived then? Like, can you say it's the greatest? Did you say it's the greatest ever? I suppose I could. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
I feel like that's what reporting is turning into a little bit, where it's gone, instead of people going, well, why do you think that? Or whatever you're talking about. Oh, and going on a little side road of that, they're going, would you say it's the great? Just that's like, so does this make this the greatest? Now that something's good, does this make it the greatest thing?
It's it's kind of this. It's this binary. Everything in sport is binary. So it's like but at least everything in sports coverage is binary, and that's where I think Klopp and Pep sort of break that, and that's why people, because it's not binary between Klopp and Pep, and they don't post match go, don't like you, no handshake. Like, because there isn't that hatred between the two, people go, that's the reason it isn't the greatest rivalry of all time. But I'm almost like, or does that make that the greatest rivalry of all time? Like, it doesn't matter. They want this American TV first take style show where someone goes, here's a really hot take, here's something that's going to get people talking, going to get clips going, and all this sort of thing. But life just isn't like that. Like, that's not the reality of what happens, you know? And then everyone else obviously clips it up, has their take or tweets the article or whatever. It just doesn't feel real to me, though. But I still, even then, went, oh, I still don't like Pep. Like, but I knew I liked him. I knew if I met him, I'd go, you're so good. Yeah. You're so nice. But in that moment, you go, get away from Trent and don't talk to Virgil.
Don't talk to my boy like that.
Yeah. Also, I was like, well, weirdly, the back of your head, he goes, maybe he's trying to get into transfer to Man City. This might end well for us.
Or any kind of little like tactical cheeky warfare.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then and I know Van Dijk is obviously like probably one of Liverpool's greatest players of all time, but like
you're doing it.
I'm not.
We're literally about to do all this now, aren't we?
Let's bring up the table of the top 10 Liverpool centre backs of all time, and we can go through.
According to Gary Lineker, Mick Richardson.
According to a tweet from Gary Lineker the other day, he said this. It's just so bizarre. Like, and that's the funny thing is no one's checking anything either, or no one's really like, it's about being the first, not being the one that goes out there and has the best take, or has a take where what I love is a journalist's article where I finish it and I go, can't wait to read the next one. Whereas when I finish the Sky Sports show, I go, I'm exhausted from you guys. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. And a good person, you go, we should hang out more.
Yeah.
Like, I read every Jonathan Wilson article and I go, we should hang out more.
Catch up with him, yeah.
I should catch up with Jono.
Let me ask you this one then. How do you feel like it
Quadruple,
ends?
Mate.
How do you feel like it ends? Like, obviously you've got the league, you've got the you've got every other tournament that you're in. You've already won the League Cup, of course. How do you think it ends? Like, because it does feel like it's all about you two colliding again and again. But how do you think it'll play out? What does your gut say?
My gut still says there's something special about the league, and I've got this like feeling that something happens in the league, which is not based on anything rational. So I still have this feeling that there's a slip up, but I know I'll be watching Wolves on my Now TV on whatever night it's on, and I'll be sitting there thinking, they can get something here, and then they'll score like in the 80th minute, it'll be 1-0. And I'll just sit there and go, so there you go then. And then the Champions League, I feel like Liverpool and City could meet in the final. And I do feel like there's like a bit of a special route there, is that if Klopp were to beat Bayern to get to the final, there'd be this kind of big moment. And then you do go, okay, well, they'll have played each other twice. Obviously, Liverpool be really annoyed about that 2-2 in the league. What happens in the final? Does Pep... You don't want to be that team that Pep outthinks in the final. So I think they probably share one and the other. And I don't think... I actually wonder whether neither of them will win what they actually want this year. Like, I don't know if they'll actually get what they... I think I want the league. I don't mind so much about the Champions League. I feel like we could win that with another manager, if that makes sense. That's something that can happen again.
Yeah.
I feel like a second Premier League sort of validates Klopp in a way, because people go, he did it once, but and it's kind of weird how many people just write him off and go, well, he's only won it once. It's like that. Again, it's that sports take, isn't it? Where it's like, he has won it once, but he's done really well other times. So it's not like, it's not this binary thing where he's won it once and then gone back to sixth or something. It's bizarre. There is a little worry, I think. And I think the Liverpool mood at the moment is we could end up with just the League Cup this season. That's the mood. But I don't know if it's true. And I don't know if the players reflect that, because I actually don't know how often. I think very often Klopp zigs when everyone else is zags. So when everyone else goes, we should be confident here, he goes, we've got everything to lose. And when everyone else goes, we've got everything to win, like, he's got the opposite take often, and it comes as it's not contrarian, but I think he is a bit of a contrarian, but with positivity. He's a positive contrarian, if that makes sense.